Hello, welcome to the Business Communication Series for Clarksville Small Business Development Center. I'm Dr. Melynda Connor. I am the instructor for business communication here in Clarksville, Tennessee, and I'm here today to talk to you about teamwork and collaboration. There are 6 steps to an effective team. You're going to interact, respect members, put forth effort, resolve conflict, work as a system so that you can accomplish your goals. Right? We're going to talk about each of these elements that make up an effective team. We're going to interact. Communication creates organization. Without communication, we can't organize, right? And we can't create an organization. We want to make sure we're sharing our information that we have and our opinions as well. We want to make decisions together and solve problems. We want to develop interpersonal relationships within our team and create those group dynamics that are so important to keeping us together and keeping us working productively towards our goals. Even within subgroups of our team, like you may have a larger organization and there are different areas or subgroups, like marketing and accounting, right? And there are sometimes lots of people working in the different groups, but together as an organization, we are a big team, but we have smaller sub teams. So we want to make sure we're communicating well within each sub team and then between the sub teams in our organization. So let's think about this. When was the last time you met together as a group within your large organization or within your subgroups? Think about that. Do you have regular meetings? Are they weekly? Are they monthly? Are they yearly? And what whole group communications do you utilize? Do you utilize email? Do you utilize, and that's like a large group, like a listserv, large emails for everybody interacts? Do you use something like Microsoft Teams? Do you use Slack? What whole group communications do you currently utilize, and how might you improve that for your team? We want to make sure that as we interact, we are using and establishing supportive relationships by using supportive communication and not defensive communication. When we're defensive, we're making accusations. You're always late. Why can't you get your act together? We're trying to control others. We want our own way. I told you you need to be here, and this is the way I want this done, and you're not listening to me. Sometimes we're manipulative. If we're being defensive, we're scripting and planning and not really taking others' thoughts and feelings and input into consideration or needs, right? We're remaining detached when we're being stoic and we don't care what they feel or think or need. We're rigid, we're standing our ground, and we are presenting ourselves as a superior being and not as an equal human being. Supportive communication focuses on presenting ourselves as equal human beings with one another. That we're using I statements to describe how we feel. I feel like when you come in late to work that you are disrespecting the work itself and me as your supervisor. We're looking to solve problems when we're being supportive rather than control others. We're looking for all the different options that might work for everybody involved. And we're being as honest and open and genuine as we can. We're listening and empathizing with the thoughts and feelings and needs of others. We're being flexible and we're open to new information. So think about how it is in the past that you've been communicating within your organization, within your team. Are you being more defensive, or have you already adopted a supportive style? Your supportive style is going to establish stronger relationships with and make your team stronger as well. It's very important to respect each member and realize that everybody is different. It's a default human tendency to think that everybody thinks the way we think. just because clearly it makes sense, right? Everybody thinks the way I think because that's logical. But no, we don't. Everybody is very different in the way they think. We've had different experiences growing up. We've come from different families. We've had different victories and different challenges. And the most important concept to bear in mind as we go about communicating with one another is that their thinking is not like ours. No two people view the world in quite the same way. There are always differences. In that way, we are snowflakes, right? So we select and organize stimuli differently. We focus on different things, and we categorize and interpret what's being said or what's being communicated in different ways. An exercise that you can do with your team, and hopefully you're all here, is what I call the dog exercise. So we want to close our eyes. I hope be in a safe environment before you close your eyes, but close your eyes and think for a moment. Follow my prompts. I want you to think of a dog. I want you to think of a big dog. I want you to think of a big brown dog with his paws on a fence. I want you to think of a big brown dog with his paws on a fence, barking loudly. I want you to think of a big brown dog with his paws on a fence, barking loudly and wagging his tail. Okay, you got your dog? You can open your eyes. And if you're with your group, which I hope you are, I want you to share among one another, pause the video, and what kind of dog you were thinking about. In the many years that I've done this experiment, there has never been a time when everybody in the team has thought of the same dog, right? Some think of St. Bernards or Great Danes or a brown version of Clifford or a Labrador. There's all kinds of different breeds of dogs, a mutt, that people are thinking about. But what is most important is that we realize what happened? What was wrong? We were all given the same instructions, and yet we came up with different answers. And that is how it works with all of our thinking every day, all the time. We might assume that somebody understands what we've just said in the way we understand it, but they're using their own experiences and filters to make sure that they are understanding it the way they think we want them to, but they can't unless we still communicate, right? So when you do this exercise with your team, pause the video, and then talk about what kind of dogs you each thought of. And maybe why. Maybe that's a dog you own. Maybe that's a dog you had when you were a kid. Maybe that's your best friend's dog. You just never know where these thoughts come from, but nobody answers in the same way as a team, right? Perspectives vary widely as well. That's part of being respectful, is realizing that everybody has different perspectives. Some are more positive, some are more negative. And here's an example. Years ago, 2 salesmen were sent to Ghana to investigate and report back on market potential. One salesman said, "There's no potential here. Nobody wears shoes." The other one said, "There's awesome potential here. Nobody wears shoes." Right? So we can look at things either positively or negatively. And we need to make sure that we're taking into account the opportunities and benefits of a situation, not just its problems and disadvantages. It's another quote that I share often is, 2 men looked out from prison bars. One saw mud, the other stars. Are you looking up? Are you seeing the bright side? It's important to take into consideration both sides, but make sure that you're not just seeing one or the other. Here's an activity for your team. You can pause the video and just read the screen, but everybody needs to come up with one difference from the group that only they have. Maybe only one person has broken their arm or loves to ice skate, right? And nobody else does or has. Also, come up with three similarities between all of you, not just that you all work for the same company or that you all live in the same town. Dig a little deeper, you know, because when we are different and realize our differences, we can respect those differences and understand that sometimes we might have trouble talking about a topic because we are different and we think differently. And so it takes patience, it takes understanding, and it takes communication. So take the time, do this activity with your group, and then share with one another. You could do it in your subgroups. Have everybody start off with your smaller teams and come up with their similarities and differences and share out to the bigger team and see if everybody came up with similar similarities, or see if the differences that were discovered within that subgroup are still a difference in the larger group, or if there are other people who share those traits. It's a nice activity and it brings everybody together. So I hope that you enjoy it with your team. We want to make sure we're putting forth effort and doing the physical and mental work that's required for us to act responsibly together and build a strong organization and a strong team, right? It takes continuous effort. Winston Churchill said, continuous effort, not strength or intelligence, is the key to unlocking our potential. We want to put forth three different kinds of effort. Physical effort, because we want to be productive in our tasks and in our communication. We want to speak and listen effectively and actively, respectfully. We want to put forth mental effort. Are we thinking positively? Are we motivating ourselves to do our tasks? Are we motivating others in our speech? Or are we bringing them down because we're so negative? Are we inadvertently creating challenges for our team because of our mental effort or lack thereof? We want to put forth team effort, acting together, combining our talents and energies effectively. Who's strong at what? Who needs to be helped and to learn what? So think about these things. And here's an activity that you can do to practice communicating together, practice speaking effectively, and actively listening. So as an individual, think of something that you're an expert at outside of your work responsibilities. I mean, you might be the most awesome Excel spreadsheet maker ever, but that might be some of your work responsibilities. So think of something that's outside of work. For example, you might be the best at raising goats or pumpkins, making baklava or barbecue sauce, or playing rugby or the World of Warcraft, or decorating houses or designing cat coats. You just never know. You might be the best at doing eyelashes or changing the oil in the car. Whatever it happens to be that you believe that you can speak effectively about and do really well and have experience in outside of work, tell your team members. Everybody gets the opportunity to be the expert. So you want to tell them first what your expertise is in. Then set a timer, and for 1 minute as the expert, you listen to the other people as they talk about what they know about your field of expertise. It might be frustrating, but you can't talk. You can't say a word. No, don't nod, don't do anything. Just take notes and listen. And then for the next minute, set your timer and they listen. They don't talk. And you tell them what you know and you reinforce anything that they said that was correct. So this is a fun activity. I like to do it in groups of 3 and then, share out more widely. But it works well in groups of 3. Take a total of 6 minutes to do that. And everyone can practice communicating respectfully and supportively and using your active listening skills. So this is a great activity to build an effective team for yourself. Make sure you're also resolving conflicts within your team. Don't let things simmer. Conflicts will out, meaning that until they are resolved, they will be an underlying cause of problems and issues. So address it head on in a respectful way, giving the benefit of the doubt, because often conflicts are simple misunderstandings. Um, Sometimes we can agree to disagree if it doesn't impact our work, but it's important when you feel like you're developing a conflict with someone to make sure that first you've given them the benefit of the doubt. There's something called the fundamental attribution error that is a human tendency as well. And that's to believe that others are behaving badly intentionally. We attribute their negative behaviors to character flaws rather than circumstances of their situation. Um, it might be a server giving lousy service, or a sales clerk ignoring you, or a coworker using your supplies without asking. These things might upset you and you automatically have conflict with this person. But have you thought about why they might be doing this? Have you given them the benefit of the doubt and discussed with them, or maybe not discussed, because this wouldn't necessarily discuss with the sales clerk or the server, but with your coworker, you certainly would want to discuss. One example of the fundamental attribution error that I've used is there's a man on a train who has 5 children, and he's there sitting on the train being very quiet and very contemplative, and the children are running amok. They are just climbing over chairs, running up and down the aisle, disturbing the other passengers, and he is ignoring that. And a woman comes up and says, "Sir, your children." And he says, "Yes, their mother passed this morning, and I'm trying to figure out how to tell them." We just never know what someone else is going through in a moment, right? It's not always about them not wanting to do their job or that they're just a bad person. The server might be giving you lousy service because they've had to take on additional tables because somebody didn't come into work, and might be working even a second shift or hadn't been able to take their lunch or something like that. The sales clerk ignoring you might be because they've been given a task that doesn't allow them necessarily to get out on the floor like they would like and take care of you. Or they've got something else on their mind. Maybe something happened in their world today that has them kind of discombobulated. Your coworker using your supplies without asking might have really needed that thing in the moment. And maybe they haven't returned it, but you could just go back and ask, and reiterate, "Hey, please ask if you're going to use my supplies." And maybe you weren't around and they just really needed it. So give people the benefit of the doubt, resolve conflicts within your team so that you can collaborate together to find the best solutions. Conflict, when we look at it as a puzzle to be solved, we can all work through it. Don't assume that you are the one who has all the pieces and knows the right answer. You have pieces, but you don't have the complete picture. You don't have that until you talk to other people. So work with your team to collaborate and find out all of the information that you can about the big picture so that you can find the best solution for everyone. There are 5 conflict management strategies that all of us use. Notice that we have an axis for concern for self, and then our bottom axis is concern for others. There is also an axis that can run diagonally through avoidance, compromise, and collaboration, and that's concern for the relationship. So when we have low concern for self, low concern for others, and low concern for the relationship, we can avoid conflict. Or it shows that we have a low concern for ourselves, a low concern for others, and a low concern for our relationship when we avoid conflict. When we have a high concern for ourselves, but a low concern for the relationship and others, we compete, right? We want to be the winner. We're making them the loser. How often do you want to be around people who are making you the loser? Right? So competition doesn't work very well for the relationship or for the other party. It's definitely a win-lose situation. Avoidance is a lose-lose. You lose, they lose. Compromise is what we've all kind of been taught to do, and it's a win-lose for each party, right? You win a little, you give a little, so you lose a little. And it's a pretty strong management technique if you have a short amount of time. When we accommodate, we're actually showing a low concern for ourselves and a higher concern for others, but not really for the relationship. When we're constantly giving in and saying, well, whatever you want to do or wherever you want to go, it actually builds resentment that accumulates over time. And that's why it is a low concern for the relationship. You're giving over, and you're not taking care of your needs. So accommodation is not the best strategy when we need to solidify that relationship. But collaboration is where we want to be. And accommodation is a lose for you, a win for the other, right? So avoidance is lose-lose. Competition is win-lose. You win, they lose. Accommodation is you lose, they win. Compromise is everybody wins a little and loses a little. And then collaboration is a win-win. But we need to take the time to have conversations to figure out the needs and wants of everybody involved so that we can come up with the best solution that works out for a win for everybody. And that's what collaboration is, and that is what we're looking to do in our teams is to collaborate as much as possible. When we are discussing things, we want to make sure that we are having a dialogue versus having a debate. Debates are great for the stage, for competitions, but dialogue is what we're going for when we are trying to build relationships within our teams. In debate, there's one right answer, and you've got it. Your goal is to win. You focus on that combat and you try to prove that person is wrong and you are right. You're searching for weaknesses and errors in their positions and you're defending your views, right? And many of us have been taught that this is the way to resolve conflicts. It is not. It is a way to perpetuate conflicts, right? So we want to have dialogue where we realize that we're not the only one with an answer, that we have one possible answer, but together we can find the best solution when we figure out what other people's thoughts are about the answer. Our goal is to seek common ground and agreement. We want to focus on collaboration and seeking common understanding. We're looking to search for the strengths and the value and the truth in what others say, not searching for the weaknesses and errors. We're not trying to attack them. We're not trying to win. We're trying to work together so that we all can win. And we want to make sure that we're using what they add, their contributions to the conversation to improve our own thinking, to give us fresh perspectives that we haven't necessarily considered previously. So remember that to resolve conflicts, we need to use dialogue and not debate. We need to work as a system to create an effective team. We function interdependently. Systems theory is kind of like the body. If one part is not quite working, the rest is affected. I mean, if your marketing department is down, everybody else suffers because no new sales are coming in. If your accounting department is down, everybody else suffers because we're all trying to figure out what needs to be paid, what needs to be brought in, and how we're going to make that happen. So when any of us within a team are not able to function or produce properly, it affects others. And we need to realize that we work as a system. That's why cross-training is important. And being empathetic and supportive is important because it takes everybody working together in supportive ways to make sure that we're productive as a team, that our system goals are met. as we were talking about the body, without the brain, the hands don't know what to do, and without the feet, we can't get anywhere fast. So every part is integral to the success of the whole. Just realize that everybody is valuable. We want to make sure we're creating frequent interactions within our team so that we work as a system. We're putting forth that effort, we're resolving the conflicts, and we're respecting one another and being supportive. That builds and strengthens our departments as a whole. Think about creating monthly departmental meetings if you don't already, so that you can catch everyone up to speed and involve everybody in the projects from the beginning to the end. Think about doing things like departmental community service projects so that you can work together outside of the office, and converse about things that are not normally within your daily scope, and just interact as humans together. That's very helpful so that we see people as more complete human beings and not just in one linear way. We want to make sure we're accomplishing our goals, like completing this training today. If you've done this with your team, bravo. And if you haven't, I hope you'll go back and do it with your team. Because I believe that when you follow these strategies, that you can gain useful skills and tools that will help improve your organization, your business, your team. As you wrap up your team activity, write down and prepare to share with your team 3 things that you learned today that you didn't know before, 2 questions you still have, and 1 thing you wish. Thanks for joining me today. As a review, you need to interact, respect your members, put forth effort, resolve those conflicts, work as a system together, and then accomplish your goals. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Again, I'm Dr. Melynda Connor, Instructor of Business Communication at Austin Peay State University. Here is my office phone number and my email. Feel free to reach out anytime. I'll be happy to come to your organization and give a session as well to help you build your teams. So I hope that you've gained useful skills and strategies. Feel free to reach out and join me in our next presentation. Have a great day.